Crypto market is again and again becoming more interesting in terms of fundamentals, looking at a lot of different stuff going around us. And we do have fundamental changes happening on the macro. And it's not just the headlines, but when you go down, you do see a lot of positive stuff coming in. So for me, looking at this, I would say like, okay, before this, they had to go in, the crypto companies, they had to actually go in and talk to the banks and get partnered. And at one point, we had issues saying, okay, this bank is going to stop any connections with the crypto exchanges, crypto custodians, like that. But right now, things are changing, and they are changing for good. Because if you are reading through this, it's like, okay, the Reserve Bank master account lets institution gain direct access to Fed's payment system. So that's the central bank doing this. So they were trying this for years. So read it here. Number of United States-based crypto custody banks have been pushing for a direct master bank access for several years. And right now, they're going to get it. Which actually means now they don't have real issues go through the conventional banks, those negotiations, the intermediary stuff, the third party, it's being removed. That is another leg. So these two are the major news on the fundamental side. But if you are looking for Ripple, this is another one. If you are here in this arena, you do understand that this company is doing wonders. And this number precisely is one of the big deal for on-demand liquidity and XRP. And when SEC say it's a security, you can just show this and say, okay, if Ripple, the company, were pushing the price up, these should have pushed the price to the sky high. And that's where I kind of start to think like, okay, is someone suppressing the price when you're having this fundamental growth? Is it Ripple, the company, pushing the price down? No one knows. Is it the market, which is like, okay, SECs, they are not touching this asset? We'll have to figure that out. But when you look at technical side, it's boring. For XRP, precisely, it is boring from last 17 days. We haven't done much. We are inside this range, 0.36, 0.39. We're kind of, slow. You take a step back, and then it's like, okay, last time when you were coming to the downside, it was like 30 days of nothing and then a move to the downside. So here that 30 days comes by next 10 days, 26th August here. So that actually gives you an ability to see like whether you're going up or you're going to come down in 10 days. It's not a long duration. But as a general market, we are getting a little bit of corrective signs. Now, it's not confirmed yet. We are inside this pattern. The pattern is bearish. But we do have to look at certain things to put things into perspective. Because if you're not looking at these and asking the same question to yourself for Bitcoin, for Ether, for the general market, now you can be confused. But if you actually take things from the past and put that into the present and ask that question to yourself, like something which repeats again and again and again and again, can that repeat one more time? So you're not just speculating wildly. You're actually looking at history and taking those factors and trying to put that into perspective, right? So when you actually try to do that, you get to see a lot of different perspectives. Now, yes, XRP is slow, but what we are trying to look at is the general market, and the general crypto market is slow and it's mixed. I do agree on that point, but some assets are moving. Slowly, they are starting to pick up. They are moving. They are hitting the targets. Last day, I showed you how our Chile's trade is going, and that's working fine. And now this one, July 28, I put out like this one showing, okay, we are about to break higher. We're going to go, these are our targets. Right now, if you're going to look at Doge, this is what you can see. The market actually went higher. We are close to the trade target 1. So if you were in the market, you already got close to that target. You moved out. Fine. Now, this is the general market. When you zoom in, you do see the same structure as Ether, a little bit of bearishness, but that's a short-term view. If you put that into perspective for a medium to long term, how will it look like? Will it be bearish? Let's dig into that. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, yes, I agree. XRP has been slow for some time, but if you are looking at the general market, some coins are moving higher, some are hitting the targets, some are doing things great. Now, if you try to put things into perspective from history, you try to look at these and you're like, okay, I get some kind of points here. There's this BTC chart, and back in 2014, 2015, it reached the 200-day moving average a couple of times and eventually went back up. Again, in 2018, we did that. We went back up. 2020, we did that. We went back up. So if you are looking at that, it's like 2018, 2019. Now the current one. So what do you think is the odds out there? Because each time when you are looking at this, you are looking for the RSI. It's being dropping and it actually makes a new low compared to the previous one here. And in general, it's trending higher. Fine. So now you're looking at things like, okay, you don't actually see a trending higher phase, but this can be the beginning of new trend. If you take that here, 2018 to 2019 drop, that was the start of the trending higher for the next one. Great. So what if this is the first leg here? You go up, you come back down, and then again a move back higher. This is a big possibility. And when that happens, in the general market, you're going to see coins move. Say right now, Dogecoin is actually moving higher with EOS, Chiliz, and up. If you're looking for last 7 days, you actually see Chiliz 45%, others 30, close to 30, 20, and all. Now, yesterday, we actually showed how our Chiliz trade is going and where our targets are, that kind of stuff. Now, if you are looking at this, say this is Doge. We had this breakout call. We broke higher. Right now, you are going towards the target. So it's 0.093 right as the target one. You're getting real close to that. So if you put that into perspective, one thing is for sure, you do have a lot of opportunities in this market to take benefit. Now, if you are that guy who's like, I can't trade, I don't want to trade, it's completely fine. You just need a little bit more patience because this is happening. Now with CZ highlighting this, I'm like, okay, that's huge. Look at the big names out here in the crypto market. Alphabet, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Samsung, Goldman. You look at this, and if you try continuing more search, it's like big names there. Now, it's not just these. Look at the connections inside Microsoft and Consensus. So Microsoft is like the Bill Gates and Consensus is like elbow guy. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And you do see a lot of banks, Citibank, Wells Fargo, BNY. So all of these guys are entering into this new decentralized area, trying to get a piece of it and make it centralized. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see how it turns out. But this thing right now is actually a big deal for anyone, because why are they entering here? They definitely understand that the wind is changing and they need to be on the side. Otherwise, they are going to be left outside in next 3, 5, 10 years as we move to a new financial structure. And this is happening from central banks, and you can't deny that. And when that happens, there are companies like this which actually performs way better than a lot of other companies. Now, you do see them performing, way better. 9x year over year for this is not bad. There are people who kind of like to mock things like, 6 people are using XRP ledger. I'm like, okay, his name itself is great, so I'll just neglect it. Anyone, for that matter, should be looking at what's happening right now, what happened before, and then make a judgment. If you are just like, okay, this is my opinion, but I don't care about what's happening in the market, that's hard to put into perspective. Right now, this is another thing which now, when you are looking at these, you do have to understand, Rahul is a macro guy. He gives everything, bits and pieces, great. But he's also heavy on altcoins like Ether, precisely, right? So when this is coming out, I'm like, okay, he has a lot of investments in Ether. And when he says that there can be some kind of, okay, that's my investment, it should go up. But other than that, that's a macro guy giving you that breakdown of what he's looking at. So if you are listening to him, yes, you are going to see how things are evolving on a macro perspective, where the inflation is slowing down. You just had the inflation news from Canada today, like the inflation is lower. Now, when we say lower, it's not up to that target of 2%. It is still higher, around 7.6%. And that's not something which is, common people would agree like it's a normal thing. But again, you are looking at these right now, warning there is going to be a big recession coming in. You're getting the same information from different areas. And where does all of these lead you? That actually leads like now, the main viewpoint is shifting from inflation towards recession. What does that mean? Inflation is dropping and the interest rates are already starting to push the economy down, and the thought process for a recession is high. Then when you're observing like different banks already starting to do QE, that's like, okay, maybe the central bank here is not going to start reducing the rate, but they may slow down hiking the rate, or even they may pause. So we need to actually see what they're going to do, but that's going to come for US. It's going to come in September. So it's September 23rd. You still have a month more in this market. And there are countries who are going for gold and they're trying it and they're seeing a little bit of success because it's kind of hedge against the fiat currencies where it's depreciating completely. So if you are looking at these, you can, like, these are a couple of stuff which I usually talk about, right? When Bank of Japan is buying the bonds, they actually going in buying all the stocks. You're like, okay, that's crazy, but you can't bet against them. They can print as much as possible and buy this. Then you're like, okay, if the market is free market, then, you need to understand these. Central banks are buying equities. So a big depression at this point is hard because they are keeping the stock markets up. There can be 30, 40, 50% corrections, and we have already seen that. But if this is continuing, the inflation is going down and central banks are starting to ease, then you are going to see that in the price action. It may not be on a daily chart, it may not be on a weekly scenario, but you will still be watching them on a 30-day, on a quarter view. So now you come back to these, you're looking for that question, okay, short term, I'm looking at a bearish movement. Now, where will we go? So if you actually take that and zoom a little bit out, now ask that question to yourself like, okay, now if you don't agree with these points, do let me know in the comment section. Great. Now, this is your previous resistance. You put a line there, and just to highlight this, so I've actually made the same here before, so it's actually easy for you to note. This is what we are trying to come up with. So this is your resistance, this is your support. Now, this is Ether, and this one is the altcoin market cap. It's almost similar, there's a little bit of difference. Now, if you are looking for the wick to the downside, this is the lowest here, because you had a lot of fluctuation in between. But if you are looking for the general market and how it moved, you can say like, okay, this range is fair, fine. So right now, where is the price? What is it doing? If you take these short-term pattern outside, what you are observing is that this area, this line, which is your support range, is being tested again and again. So if the price drops, it can come down and test this range. What is that? Around 10% to the downside. Now, again, if you are looking for this particular day, 3-day candle, we've been slowing down. Now, if you're putting that things into perspective, last 3 days is like this, and still you have some coins outperforming in the market. Now, some of them like this, I would completely neglect because it's just $300 in volume and you don't want to be in there, in that position. Fine. But when you move around inside this market, you do see some of these coins are slowly grinding higher, breaking out, moving towards the target. All of them looks fine. So if you do look at these kind of opportunities and you are like, okay, maybe these are going to help you do better trades, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So now when you go back into the market and you look at this, you can always say completely negative market stuff, and either you can try to be neutral. Ask like, what does the chart show you? Possibility is that you're going to break down here, but again, you move on to a 3-day chart, you move on to a weekly chart. Ask that question to yourself, and you would be asking that and saying like, okay, there is a huge possibility that this can be a cup and handle pattern where you would see this. That is a huge possibility. But the issue there is, when we move into this one, we are having trades which is hitting your targets. Take that. Or if it's, say your target is 30%, it's at 26, 28, take it. Your target is 50, it's coming to 44, 45, take it. So that's going to be important if you are doing the trading part. Now, if you are trying to buy low, accumulate more, these kind of dips is what you actually want to buy in, because your next major target for this market is just like this. You're going to come down and then you're going to bounce, because that happens to be your support from very long time. I do personally think that the market is going to be holding this level. You are inside this range of support. You went to the bottom, you wicked lower, but you came back up eventually. So that kind of gives you the perspective of buyers in the market. When the price goes down, they're buying heavily, they're pushing the price back up. Now, why is that? Because big institutions are doing the same. If they are investing in these companies, how much money do you think is actually coming into the crypto market space where they're going to buy based on utility? I don't actually think they would just buy random coins, but I do believe they're going to look at utility. Now, XRP has a ton of utility, but the SEC case kind of limits a lot of institutions in US. If they are headquartered in US, they would hesitate to do that. Now, there's Ether chart on a 3-day, and here you also see a possible downside. Now, that downside doesn't actually mean you're going to, create a new low, because your RSI is going to retest the breakout here, and the price is going to test the moving average. So keeping that anticipation that the moving average is going to come up because the price is above the moving average, so you're going to get average up, and the price is going to correct back down, mostly somewhere close to 1700. You're going to meet at that point or close to that, up or down a little bit, then bounce from there. That is what you are actually waiting to see. Fine. And when you bounce, you definitely want to see the price breaking through 2000. And that's where I kind of agree with Raul saying that, okay, this is possible, right? So that's not a bad stuff. Great. Now, if you are in the market, make sure you understand the fundamentals and make sure you don't leverage a lot. With one big news, this negative issue which you're observing here in the market can be completely changed. And if that breaks to the upside, imagine this is a bearish trend and that's breaking to the upside. Now that kind of hurts because you're preparing for a downside. You pulled all your positions out expecting to buy lower, then the price goes up. And it breaks to the upside, confirming that, okay, bearish pattern breaks bullish, things are changing, right? So you don't want to be in that position. So whenever you do something, think twice before you execute, whether it's closing completely or moving out or moving in completely. If you're taking 5-10% of your profits here and there, that's okay. You now have dry powder and it's not going to hurt the entire portfolio if the market decides to go against you, right? So take that perspective and move ahead. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that. Keeping that likes, keep the video going. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.